If you were convicted by the Holy Spirit this morning and saying, okay, Lord, I'm worried about these things. I have these giants. I know my heart is in some other place. I want to come back. How do you think, as human beings, that we get our hearts from that place to a better place? Let's be real. You see, our hearts are transformed through our life's journey. That's how our hearts are transformed. Because I'm a pastor, it doesn't make me a better disciple than you. Read what Jesus says. Can I tell you, me being a pastor, this is the journey that transforms me to looking more like Jesus. And when I go before him, he's not going to say, Dinesh, pastor, you a pastor, no? How big was the church? You think he's going to say, you were very successful, no? My gosh, you had so many people. Wow, well done, dear. Are you kidding me? He's going to say, when I stand before him, how much you look like Jesus? I know I made you a pastor because that's the place you're going to look more like Jesus. So your heart can be transformed. You think it's different for you? It's not. Can I tell you, your journey, where you are right now, those awful troubles you go through, like I said a few Sundays ago, all that is a part of God changing you to look more like his son. But if you can see that, you won't sit down and be a victim. Such people are easy to sift. Jesus said in those last days, the enemy will sift you. He's going to push you aside. There's going to be a divide. And he said, you will be sifted. If you sit down, wallowing, thinking you're a victim, you will not restore the heart of Christianity back in the church. You won't. But then what is required? What is required is, are you willing to die to yourself? Somebody say, Pastor, can't you speak those love sermons? They're so much nicer than these dying sermons. You have that very one, that very powerful one you spoke and I cried and all that about the love of God. Preach that. No, church. We have heard that. We know this to be true about the love of God. But it has to change. Bring back the soul of Christianity. What has happened? I believe we have two camps of Christianity. One camp that says, come on, come to our church. Come and you can be successful. You can have the privilege of joining this community of millionaires. To be. We're not there yet, but that's where we're getting. Because our gospel is about how rich you can get. Our gospel is about how successful you can be. And therefore, the soul of Christianity is pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Come and get your lust sorted out by God. You come, God will give you. Man, that packs churches. It does. Then you find another group that says a different story. It says, come to church. Because if you don't, you will go to hell. And then the message of the church is, you must be here. You must come. We must keep this service going. Because we have to keep this denomination going. Sounds very noble. If you don't come, you're going to hell. You can see they're quite different, right? But what's the similarity? They both don't produce disciples. They don't produce people who are running after Jesus and want to tell others about Jesus. The first one is teaching people to run after a person or a personality or an organization. Jesus is secondary. You come after us. And the other one is fear. They both do not produce disciples. If you're tracking with me, you have to read this, Matthew 16:24. And Jesus said, if anyone would want to come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. This is, by the way, before he went to the cross. They all knew what the cross was. Instrument of death. You deny yourself, take up an instrument of death and follow me. Now, how many of you really want to follow Jesus? How many of you can say, I am a follower of Jesus because I'm so ready to deny myself and die? See, for the soul of Christianity to come back to the church, it takes true followers of Jesus in the church to restore the soul of Christianity. Otherwise, we have one of these two other churches. One is dying. The other one has a lot of numbers, but both do not have disciples. Both do not have people that look like Jesus. And there's nothing for the world to see. First, Jesus says you have to basically take your cross and be ready to die. I like Paul. Paul says, I have already been crucified with Christ. I have crucified myself with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. See, I can't keep speaking just about love. I have spoken. For years I have spoken to you, be secure in the love of God. And that is, if you are secure in the love of God, you can say, I'm ready to die. Now let me ask you, church, are you still willing to die for him in the sense of, will you die to your lethargy? Will you die to your flesh that says, Lord, I want to hang out with you, but Lord, it's not convenient. Are you willing to die so that the purposes of God can be established in his kingdom? As he says, they'll be lovers of pleasure than anything else. Where it's like, oh yeah, but Lord, I really, come on, can I just enjoy this? Are you willing to die to your mouth that wants to speak negative about people? I'm telling you, some of us have to die to that because we are so used to talking all the negative things about people behind their backs. It's called gossip. If you want to be a follower of Jesus, you have to die to it. Don't think that one is committing adultery. I am only gossiping. Much less a sin. No. If you read Galatians, it talks about the lust of the flesh and it talks about all these things. But it talks about factions, it talks about gossip, it talks about slander. Saying, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. So beloved church, if you want to be the army of Jesus Christ, is there something you are willing to do going forward? To deny yourself, to take up the cross and follow Jesus. That is the only way we can bring the heart of Christianity back into the church. The message of Jesus Christ back into the church. It's not through some fancy preaching. It's the people turning to Him and saying, Lord, I'm willing to die for you.